I want to welcome to the show sports writer at Sports Illustrated, also a host of the Red Diamond Report podcast. I want to welcome to the show Wilton Jackson II. What's up, Wilton? How you doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Glad to be on.
Definitely, man. Glad to have you on, Wilton. Let's get right to it, Wilton. Let's start off in the NFL, and let's discuss the AFC. In the AFC, we got the Chiefs leading the AFC West at 9-3. The Dolphins are having a great season under Tua at 8-4, despite their loss to the 49ers last week. And then we got the defending AFC champs, the Cincinnati Bengals, 8-4, fresh off a win over the Chiefs in week 13. We got also the Bills, who are the number one seed in the AFC. So right now, in your opinion, Wilton, who should be considered the favorites in the AFC?
I mean, honestly, man, you really have to consider the Chiefs and the Bills. I mean, who doesn't like the duel of those two teams when they play each other? You just never know what's going to happen, right? It always feels like it comes down to the last minute play. I'm not gonna lie, just dealing with the idea of being a sports reporter, but also being a fan. The Chiefs are the team for me. Like, it's something about Patrick Mahomes. It's just that magic, man. He always finds a way to get it done in most cases. But that doesn't mean that I have, that's no disrespect to the Bills. But at the same time, there's some other teams that, they could still give them a run for their money. Like I said, we've seen teams, come through the season in that latter part of the stretch of the season that always makes a run. And, you'll see those teams kind of step up when they need to. It can make those major runs in the postseason. So you can never count anybody out, even if it is just getting to the end of the season.
Well, you actually led me to my next question for you, because I'm not a Bengals fan, but I live here in Cincinnati. Yeah. And so you saying that you believe that the Chiefs and the Bills are the favorites in the AFC and not the defending AFC champion Bengals. I think some Bengal fans might think that's a little disrespectful, Wilton. You kind of sleeping on the Bengals there a little bit, my brother.
And here's the thing. As somebody who went to LSU and a Joe Burrow fan, I should probably be Team Bengals all the way. But in all honesty, like I like the work that they've done, that they did last year. I like the work that they've been able to put together this year. But I just, and when it comes down to it, I wouldn't bet going up against putting Joe Burrow against Patrick Mahomes this season around, or putting the Bengals up against the Bills again. I think that I would take my chances with going with the Chiefs. So as you can see, I'm kind of leaning towards the Chiefs.
Yeah, I hear you, because Joe Burrow is 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes.
Right? No, I do.
Yeah, and the last 3 times they played, Wilton, the Bengals beat the Chiefs, and last year the Bengals overcame 11-point deficits to come back and beat the Chiefs. So I hear. I just think the Bengals, and I'm not a Bengal fan. Like I said, let me be clear. I am not a Bengal fan at all. I like the Packers, Wilton. Just so you can know.
Oh gosh, well, I know you're not happy right now. Then
I'm not happy right now. I'm not, and I'm honestly happy, Wilton, that we got a bye week this week, because I don't have to suffer this week. I can just watch football and I can be a fan. I ain't gotta have my heart in. I believe the Bengals match up well with the Chiefs, Wilton, because offensively they got Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. At receiver, you got Jamar Chase, you got T. Higgins, you got Tyler Boyd. And then in the backfield, P. Ryan's been playing well lately, and they got Joe Mixon as well. I think they match up well with the Chiefs.
Mind you, I never said that they didn't match up well with these particular teams. I just said if I had to bet my bank account in the playoffs with a play on the line, who's going to win it? Right now, I'm not. Again, they had, like you said, you've given me the facts to say that they've beaten them 3 times in a row. I get it, but I'm still not betting. I'm not putting my money on them.
I get it. So let's talk about these great young quarterbacks in the NFL. It's a lot of them, Wilton. We got Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and you can even throw Tua in there, because Tua's having his best season so far of his career. But which of these young quarterbacks are you taking if you were starting a franchise and can have any quarterback of your choice?
I'm going to be biased and probably still go Patrick Mahomes, but a second behind Patrick Mahomes, I really love the play of Justin Herbert. Like, I like his decision-making. Obviously, he's made some errant throws in certain situations late down the stretch, but I mean, he's only been in the league a few years. Give him a few more years, and he's going to be dangerous. Like, that's going to be a LA Chargers team that's going to go the distance. I really like his play, but I really love the play that Tua has put up, that he's put out this year. Yeah. You're talking about a Dolphins team. Obviously, we know all the issues that happened with them last year. and seeing them bounce back and have the success that they've had this year. Obviously, Tua gets those weapons to help him this year. And shout out to Mike McDaniel for really putting together a system in which he can thrive. Because I think that when most of us saw Tua go down with that horrendous injury, me personally, I didn't know how long he was going to be out. But to see him come back and bounce back from that and really look confident. I mean, granted, the last couple of weeks, he's been a little shaky, of course, with Miami. But as far as like overall compared to what they've been in previous years, I'm very, very proud of Tua's growth.
And to your point, Wilton, before Mike McDaniel took over, it was Brian Flores. And Flores, he didn't believe in Tua. Right. And honestly, there were times last year, remember, where Ryan Fitzpatrick was finishing games for the Dolphins. Yeah, Fitzmagic. he was finishing games for the Dolphins instead of it being Tua. So I think it really speaks to how McDaniel believes in Tua, and that's why we've seen the progression this season compared to the first couple years of his career.
Absolutely. It goes without saying. You can be as talented as you want to be, but it's nothing like having someone to have confidence in you. If the person if your coach doesn't have confidence in you 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to have confidence in yourself. That also means 9 times out of 10, the players in that locker room are not going to have confidence in you either. So you always want the person or the people in charge to believe in you. That changes the whole locker room dynamics. That puts faith in the person that's going to be leading the team, because we know the NFL is a quarterback's league. Without a good quarterback, look at the Saints. And I'm going to just be honest, I'm a Saints fan, diehard Saints fan.
Okay.
But Drew Brees, we have not been the same since he left. I'm just being realistic, and that's no shame to the quarterbacks that we have. No shame to Jameis Winston, none of them. It's just, or Andy Dalton, but it's just the fact that, hey, you got to have a quarterback to lead your team. You can have all the skill position players. Yep. You can have all the players that's in the trenches. You can have all the best defenders. And like I said, just going back to the Saints, pretty much great defense. But if you don't have a quarterback, if you don't have a franchise leader to lead your team, you're not going to be successful.
I agree 1,000%, Wilton. And that's honestly why a lot of people have reservations when it comes to the 49ers. Because I think the 49ers are loaded, Will. Not the receiver. They got Debo. They got Ayuk. They got Kittle. And Will, they had the nerve, the audacity to trade for Christian McCaffrey. I couldn't believe it. I said, they're going to trade for Christian McCaffrey and add him? And then that defense is elite. It's elite. But the question about the 49ers is, can they get quality quarterback play in playoff moments to get over that hump and win the Super Bowl? They did get to the Super Bowl a couple years ago, but when Jimmy G had to make the play, he couldn't get it done.
Right. And then, look at the issues that are going on with them. Obviously, I'm sure you saw that the injury with Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to be as bad as they projected it to be. But of course, you have Brock Purdy. But at this point of the season, as we just alluded to, we're talking about going into week 14. You basically have, including this week, 4 or 5 more weeks in the season, and you have to be playing your best football. It doesn't really necessarily matter if you went 9-0 or you won 9 straight games to start the season. This is where it starts mattering the most. Just like in college football, when the month of November is important, December and the first week in January is extremely important when it comes to the NFL. So Absolutely. We'll find out a lot about what the 49ers are going to do. And as you alluded to, they have all the weapons to be successful. They have the weapons to go the distance when it comes to being in the NFC. But depending on what that situation looks like at quarterback, that's going to determine a lot.
Absolutely. Let's switch over to the NFC. And obviously, the number 1 seed in the NFC is the Philadelphia Eagles. They are led by MVP candidate Jalen Hurts at 11-1. The Vikings are the 2 seed in the conference at 10-2 with Kirk Cousins. Cowboys are 9-3, and they fresh off a 54-point performance against the Colts on Sunday Night Football in Dallas. And they might possibly sign Odell, although I think his reports this week about how they're concerned with his health. And then we just talked about the 49ers. So who do you believe should be the favorites in the NFC?
I think in the NFC, you have to go ahead and still give it to the Eagles. I mean, shout out to Jalen Hurts in the play that, he's been able to do this season. A lot of people constantly still doubt Jalen Hurts, even with what they've been able to do just alone in this season. And just something to mention that when you look at it, you talk about, number 1 seed right now, they have a chance to potentially clinch a playoff spot this week. They get the win, or they tie on Sunday, or San Francisco or Seattle loses. They'll get that playoff spot. They'll get that number 1. They won't get the number 1 seed, but they get that playoff spot. And then you talk about a Minnesota team. A Vikings team, if they win or they tie, they get a playoff spot. So in terms of right now of where things are, I always stand by where things are right now. I would have to still go with the Eagles as being as the top team in the NFC.
See, Wilton, honestly, before Jimmy G's injury, I thought the 49ers was a team to beat in the NFC because I felt like if the 49ers have to go on the road to Philly or to Minnesota, I like my chances with Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. I really, that's how I felt.
Absolutely. Like I said, with the weapons they have, and then just when they got Christian McCaffrey, before we even were dealing with this quarterback situation, of course, the Garoppolo injury, I mean, they're literally unstoppable.
Yeah.
When you think about that, you got Deebo Samuel, obviously one of the most dynamic playmakers in the NFL, and you add a Christian McCaffrey to that, and as you mentioned, the wide receivers they have, the defense that they have, all you need is a quarterback that's going to, lead your offense. Like, I mean, talking about scary good. They would give Philly a run for their money if they had to play a game, if Philly had to come to San Francisco in a playoff game.
I agree 1,000%. And I'm not honest, and this is not because I'm a Packers fan. I promise it ain't, Wilton. But I really don't believe in Minnesota like that. I don't. I love Justin. Okay, you don't either. Okay. You're on the same with me.
I am a big Justin Jefferson fan.
Me too.
Now, as far as Kirk Cousins, if I can't see him past the door, I'm not. My trust for him is not going to be that big.
Me too. I'm the same way, man. I think in big games when the lights are at its brightest, Kirk Cousins folds. He folds. I've seen it happen too many times.
We all have seen it.
We've seen it. And I like Adam Thielen too. I like Thielen. But
one of the clutchest slot receivers that you'll ever be around, or even just to play the game in the NFL.
For sure. But I think in the playoffs, I believe that they could slip up against one of those wild card teams in the NFC, and I wouldn't be surprised if they lost. I just wouldn't be surprised. If Philly lost their first playoff game, I would be surprised. If the Vikings lost their first playoff game, I wouldn't be shocked one bit.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people, that goes back to the point I was just making. A lot of people don't have high expectations for Jalen Hurts. As the Eagles continue to win, as Jalen continues to have success, it continues to build. But I can guarantee you, at any point within these last few weeks that Philly loses, the narrative will go back to, well, he's not ready. What did he do wrong? Yep. Are the Eagles the team to still beat in the NFC? Can they get past the Dallas? Can they get past the Vikings? Can they get, what I mean? Like, can they get past the 49ers? Can they get past the favorite teams in the NFC on the road to a potential Super Bowl? I promise you that's what it's going to be. But as long as he continues to win, progress, and they're not slowing down, I like the Eagles' chances.
I agree. The Hall of Fame quarterbacks have struggled this year, Wilton. Aaron Rodgers got 22 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. The Packers are 5-8 on the season. Tom Brady got 16 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Buccaneers are 6-6. The only reason why the Buccaneers are considered a playoff team right now is because they play in the NFC South. Let's be honest.
Oh, absolutely. Which is a division that's wide open right now.
Wide open. But what do you believe is the biggest reason for the legendary quarterbacks' struggles so far this season?
I think a lot of it has to do with, some of the players that they have around them. Specifically, I'm going to talk about Green Bay for a second. So I don't want to make you mad. I know you're a Green Bay fan. I mean, it says something when your franchise receiver, Devontae Adams, goes away. Now, granted, obviously, when you're a good quarterback, you're going to adjust. You're going to still be able to make the plays, or you're going to attempt to still make the plays, put the ball where it needs to be put. But this also shows that when you have young receivers like a Christian Watson and, Lazard, even though he's not necessarily a rookie or young, he's been in the league for some years, this is not Devontae Adams. And what it also shows me is that a lot of times, Aaron Rodgers, you are great. Hall of Fame worthy quarterback, will for sure get into the Hall of Fame. But a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, sometimes the wide receivers make the quarterback look that much better.
Absolutely.
When you have a dynamic receiver who can go after some of those balls that you may overthrow or that you may put in a position that the defensive back or the cornerback can still, have access to, but that wide receiver comes up with the play, kind of like what Justin Jefferson does sometimes. Like you have to pay those guys. You have to credit those guys. You want those guys in your franchise. And so I think the biggest thing with Aaron Rodgers is the fact that he had to really, I feel like, adjust to the players that are around him. Of course, he's been banged up. He's had some injuries, but when hasn't Aaron Rodgers had injuries? That's not an excuse for somebody like him.